State digesting news of the report right now.
Well, we have had mixed reactions from students here at the University of the Free State in Bloemfontein. We are on the main campus as we speak. But I must say that most of the students are not too happy about what the Fees Commission report is saying. Hehowever, right now we have two students that are joining us. The first student that we're going to speak to is the SRC president here at the University of the Free State, Heher Commission, who's just also part of the group of students that's not happy about this Fees Commission report. Heher, thank you for joining us. Just give us your views about what this Fees Commission report is saying.
Thank you so much for having me. We are very disappointed, absolutely very disappointed about the report and the contents of the report. Of course, it's been maybe about 2 hours since it's been released. One has not had sufficient time to go through the report. But of what we have seen, we're very disappointed. I think number one, primarily, when we agreed to be part of the report and we agreed to even participate on the report, in fact, the commission was supposed to go and address and answer the question of the feasibility of free education. What we have seen is absolutely ridiculous. Number one, of course, to the large extent, the report is saying that free education will not be possible. But there are many things. In fact, I think the report has now left us with more questions than answers. There are many things. One of the biggest recommendations there is the issue of the ICL, the recommendation of the income contingency loan that is set to replace the NSFAS. It says the NSFAS will be scrapped and then it will only apply to TVET students. Now, that on its own leaves us with a lot of questions. The first question is, what then happens to the students that are currently funded by NSFAS? What will happen to the money that they've already received? There are many issues. Then there's the issue of the outstanding, the issue. We've been calling to government to address the issue of historic debt. That report comes back to say that students will have to go and apply for loans, this ICL, from commercial banks. In fact, if anything, the report has now taken us 10 steps back from where we were. We are very disappointed because let me try and give you a picture of what this means. This means on average a student has about a debt of 60,000 rands. A student with a debt of 60,000 rands is now expected to go get a loan to pay off the outstanding debt and then still go get a loan for 100 to 250,000 rands for the next 3 years to complete their degree. Where will that money pay off? Where will that money come from? And it's very one of the issues that comes from the report is the issue of campus of accommodation. Accommodation is critical. Right now in our university, I can tell you, I've got 27,000 students. 80% of them live off campus and they do not have accommodation. We have seen murders, we have seen muggings, we have seen many issues that have affected students because of the issue of accommodation. Now, the report says the Commission has found that there is an extreme shortage of accommodation, as if we do not know. What did we not know? We knew for that matter. Government had even given targets to university to say, this is how far are you in terms of your targets, in terms of your accommodating your students. So no one does not know that we have a shortage. For the report, for 2 years, you want to come back and tell us what we told you before you started the commission. It's really absolutely ridiculous. And especially to think that we waited 2 years to be told. On the issue even on that issue of accommodation, the report says that government will have to find a feasible way in order to address. This is what they have been. That is what has been said for years. So we're very disappointed by the findings of the report, and we maintain that we rejected it in its absolute entirety.
Okay, thank you very much, Heher. That is Heher Commission, the SRC president here at the University of the Free State. Very unhappy. In fact, he says that they, as the SRC, reject this Fees Commission report. But now with a very different view is Johan Diedrichs, who is a master's student in industrial psychology here at the University of the Free State. Johan, thank you for joining us. You've got a very different view about this. Just share with us what's your thoughts.
So, regarding the whole report, I haven't had the privilege yet to read through the whole thing. But there was one thing that really stuck out for me that I think is actually a practical change that happened. I'm going to give a few reasons for that, and that's the NSFAS switching over to the TVET colleges. One has to consider the current financial position of the South African government and the GDP and the state of people. Currently, South Africa is trying to alleviate poverty. And the best way by doing this is training people with practical skills that can be immediately applied into the labor market and where employment can rapidly happen. In some instances, I actually know plumbers and electricians on entry level that make more than lawyers who have studied for 5 years. So on a practical note, this NSFAS could really help and empower people. In my opinion, I would even want the government to spend more on TVET colleges because our country is a little bit short of these maintenance skills such as boiler making, electricians and plumbing.
Thank you very much, Johan. That is Johan Diedrichs, a student here at the university with very strong views about the benefits for TVET colleges that come from, this revised, or rather this Fees Commission report. With that, it's back to you in the studio.
Well, there, Palesa, garnering student comment first on the Fees Commission report. The SRC representative you heard there at the University of the Free State expressing overall disappointment with the report as he feels historical student debt and accommodation shortages is not adequately addressed. This is economist Sam Rowland from earlier.
The question to ask in this situation is